This is the beginning of the podcast. And for the record, this is the first ever sponsored edition of the podcast, sponsored by Arnts, the landscape supplier. We have Chris Arnts representing Arnts, the landscape supplier, on the show today. We have a multitude of questions from the internet for him to answer that are mostly not relevant to landscape supply. And we thank Chris for coming on. And we're not exactly sure how this will remotely help his business, but we appreciate the support, Chris. And we got to keep the lights on here because Chad's buying way too many Chinese excavators and has not been able to contribute his portion to keeping the lights on here. Although I don't think Chad and I have ever contributed any portion. Thanks to How to Hardscape for keeping this propped up. All right. Chris, you have a beef with Chad over the Chinese excavators. It's time to settle this beef now. Go, Chris.
I do have a beef.
Uh-oh. Let's hear it. Out with it now.
This should be good.
This goes back a few weeks now. A good friend of mine that I talk to on a fairly regular basis called me up and said, "Hey, I'm looking at these Chinese excavators on the auction." I said, "Oh yeah." He said, "Yeah, they're like super cheap." So it piqued my interest. I started looking into it, and we determined that like a Chinese excavator is potentially worth like $20,000.
Wow.
And a Bobcat excavator is worth, I don't know, what are they worth? $40,000, $50,000?
Comparable, like I would say 35 to 40. Yeah,
that's 35 fair. To 40.
That's fair.
And there was an opportunity that we might be able to get one of these Chinese excavators for as cheap as, in our minds, like $500. So
$500.
Well, that's what we thought. In our mind, you know, we had maybe high hopes.
See, Mike turned me on to these excavators.
Well, he turned me on to these excavators.
Who, Mike from How to Hardscape is into excavators?
The Paver King himself turned me on to these excavators.
See, my problem, Chad, is that I was not in control of my own Ritchie Brothers account because I don't have a Ritchie Brothers account. So mistake number one was brokering out my Chinese excavator purchasing to Paver King. That was mistake number one.
God's smarter than you already. He took it out of my hands and put it all in his own.
The one good thing about outsourcing the Chinese excavator purchase was it did set a hard cap because we had a discussion about how much we were willing to pay for the Chinese excavators. And I believe, what did we settle on? I think we settled on $3,000.
Yeah. And then I boosted it to $5,000 because I knew you were good for it.
I know. Well, see, at least the broker was looking out for me. But even at $5,000, it turned out that we weren't very successful in purchasing a Chinese excavator, which was very disappointing because there was two very, very important reasons why I needed this Chinese excavator, Chad. So I'm hoping that my story will appeal to you in this moment.
In Chad's defense, you can still buy them. Chad has a stock of them. So
I got 5 of them left.
I think Chad needs to hear my reasoning as to why I need a Chinese excavator, and then we can get into the negotiations.
Okay, so let's go.
Reason number one that I needed a Chinese excavator was I have a trailer up north, and I have 2 kids, and they're 5 and 7 years old, and them and their friends up north have these awesome little electric dirt bikes. And so when Mike told me about these Chinese excavators, I thought, this would be the perfect machine for me to just putter around on up north on the weekends at the trailer. And I immediately had a vision in my mind of building my kids and their friends a amazing dirt bike trail for their electric dirt bikes. Okay, so it's really all about the children here, Chad.
That could go two ways. It's either going to take you a really long time to build this dirt track, with this tiny Chinese excavator, or I don't know what other way.
Yeah, but these are tiny dirt bikes.
Yeah, they're also electric, right? So one lap
They're
around,
also
they probably
electric.
need a charge.
Well, you can get 3 or 4 laps.
3 or 4 laps. Chad has multiple colors now. Chris, what color do you want?
Yeah, I've got a yellow and
I'm
orange.
not picky. I'm not picky about color.
So
I'd take any color.
The guy who came to look at them this week, actually, so we sold one right off the hop.
Did you get full
6.
pop?
Yes, I did.
Really?
Full pop. Yeah.
You held strong, even though you had 4 more
strong.
Incoming.
5 more incoming. Oh yeah. Okay, you're right. 4 more
4
incoming.
more incoming. 1 in the slot.
I held strong.
Nice. I respect that. I respect that move.
So he pulls into the yard with his F-150 Tremor, this shitty little landscape trailer on the back, and so he's looking around at the shovels. I said, "You want to try them out?" He's like, "No, it's okay."
I don't want to try them out.
He didn't want to dig a hole. He just he rode it around in a circle. He was looking at them. One had a cup holder, obviously, and the other one had armrests. And he's looking back and forth, and he wasn't sure which one. One was a brighter yellow than the other one. His wife yells at him from the inside of the car. She's like, "That one's got a ding on the roof." And so he's looking around some more. And he took the one with the ding on the roof, but it took him a good 20 minutes to decide which shovel he wanted.
Did you tell him that NDL had the same option plan as BMW, and if he wanted heated seats, he had to sign on to the monthly plan, and you would operate them remotely from the monthly plan?
There's your recurring revenue. That's that's the play.
That's it. I'm not that much of a salesman. I was just happy to get the bank draft, and I didn't even help the guy load it. I'm like, I gotta go. It was Friday, 6:30 at night.
So it was after hours. What kind of service can you expect after
hours?
So
you met a random guy after hours by yourself at the shop?
Oh yeah. Wouldn't be the first time.
Cornwall's a different place.
I sold a Bobcat at probably 10 o'clock at night once. And my worker who was living on site at the yard texted me. He's like, "Someone's stealing a Bobcat right now." Don't worry, it's me. I sold it.
There's a hot topic of conversation that has nothing to do with Arnts. Jordan from DPR got his Bobcat stolen right out of the parking lot on Sunday night. Kubota with his 10-foot plow. They came in with a 2011 Yukon and a 3.5-ton flat trailer. And so I was talking to Jordan before we came on here, and he actually has video from there's a Facebook page apparently called Overloaded, and it's videos from all over North America of overloaded vehicles. I'm sure, Chris, you could make some and post some leaving your yard on the homeowner days.
Yeah. I've probably been on that website.
You probably have.
You too, probably.
So maybe awesome. So from everybody sharing the videos on Instagram, someone messaged Jordan and said, "Hey, your skid steer is featured on the Overloaded Facebook page right now." So he went to the Overloaded Facebook page and found the video and found the person who created the video and messaged him. And he said, "Yeah, I shot that video right in front of the police station in Bowmanville."
It's headed my way.
Jordan called the police and said, "Hey, you guys probably have cameras that face the road at the police station. Do you have a video of my skid steer?" And they basically told him to bounce, and they had more important things to do. And that was the end of it. So fucked up. They don't give a shit that his $100,000 skid, his $100,000 skid steer is missing, and he's the one that's collected all the evidence, all the video. Did
he have it GPS on it?
No, he didn't.
So we just spent
GPS system.
Yeah, we spent a couple grand today actually to get a whole bunch of GPS tags, and someone's going to come down and put them on everything.
So apparently the easy method is to get an air tag from Apple and just throw.
Yeah, we used to have those. They all died.
Oh, did they?
You got to replace them every year. I checked today. Actually, we had one in the loader and it was dead. So everything hasn't moved since January.
So we're using actual Apple AirTags or just
we were. We just
imitation?
throw them in the cup holder or whatever, throw them under the floor mat or whatever. But now we're getting them hardwired in.
Hardwired in.
Yeah.
So Chris, none of this has helped your business.
No.
Are we done with the Chinese excavator thing, or
no?
like,
I only got to. I still have more. There's more to this story.
Okay.
Oh.
So the first part is, Chad, I need the excavator for my children. The second part to the story is, as somebody who's in the landscape supply business, I spend all my time around equipment, and most of my friends are either landscape suppliers or landscapers. And it's a little bit of a point of embarrassment for me that I'm basically the worst and most incompetent equipment operator out of everybody I know, to the point that people generally won't let me anywhere near their equipment. On the off chance I find myself on a landscape job site, I usually end up being the person at the shovel who's digging by hand next to the machine because people don't want me in their piece of equipment. So I, at the chance of being able to acquire one of these Chinese excavators and use it for practice on my kid's dirt bike trail, I thought, you know what, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to come home at the end of the summer and I'm going to shock and surprise all of my friends with my newfound skills as an equipment operator. And, but then you had to go and outbid us, and now we're here.
In my defense, I can't even operate this excavator. It's the opposite control pattern of what I use. So, like, I am an operator. I like to think of myself as an operator sometimes, but I can't operate this shovel. Like,
maybe there's hope for me then. Maybe the pattern on this shovel is perfectly designed to suit my skill set.
Yeah.
Or you would learn those controls and then go to show off, and they would be the opposite controls.
I can use an excavator, but only my own excavator. I bring it with me everywhere I go.
If the excavator isn't produced in China and it's worth more than $12,000, they usually have a switch that shifts them. So you would be in luck if it wasn't one of these Chinese. You would know how to run the Chinese ones, and then the other ones change over. So you'd be in good shape.
I didn't know that. You learned something. See, I just learned something from this podcast.
Well, you'd be the first person.
Don't tell Caleb.
You'd be the first person ever.
So how many excavators do you have left, Chad?
I've got 5 left.
All right.
5 left.
So after hearing my story, if I was to make you an offer, would you consider my offer?
Well, not if it's $500 like you wanted to pay. See, if you should have made this offer before I picked them up from Mike's yard.
I thought about it. I saw them at Mike's yard, and then I waited too long, and then the opportunity passed. But I have a new offer for you.
Full pin retail.
So what's full pin retail?
I think is it $10,000 American? Whenever you search them online, I think mine are going for 11.5K plus HST.
11.5 Canadian. Okay.
Yeah.
So 11.5K plus HST. So my proposal would be, I will pay the HST up front as a deposit, and I will pay the freight, but I'm going to need some financing. So,
oh my goodness, the owner of Arnts needs financing.
Well, from my recent market analysis, I've come to believe that the optimum financing terms is 150 months at 6% interest.
Yeah, so, that's what I've been hearing too. I think we're pretty solid at those rates.
Yeah, I think that's the going rate. If you're going to purchase something, you might as well finance it over 150 months at 6% interest. So
12 years is the new 5-year term.
Oh, 12 and a half. 12 and a half years. Well, the other thing is, if the Chinese excavator lasts 12 and a half years, my kids will be graduated high school by then. So if they decide they wanted to get into the landscaping business, I'd be able to gift them the Chinese excavator.
Start them off on the right foot with an heirloom excavator.
With an heirloom excavator. That's fully paid off.
That's fully paid off.
Fully paid off, baby. 12 and a half years.
When you graduate from grade 12, we'll almost own this excavator, son. We'll only have 10 payments. We'll only have 11 payments. We'll have made 139 payments on this baby. We'll be so close.
But have you looked into what the cost of borrowing is then over the term?
I can tell you because I have a time value of money calculator on my phone.
Wow.
Time value of money. See, that's not the kind of thing we normally have on this podcast.
Yeah. I wouldn't even know where to get that.
$11,500 present value, 6% rate, 150 months. That gives you a payment of $109.16. So $109.16 times 150, 16,374 minus your 11,500. So it's almost, you stand to make, Chad, listen to this, an extra $4,874 off the life of this deal.
If we're at 2% inflation a year, though.
Ooh.
I don't. Yeah,
Chad, who says he doesn't know his numbers, is starting to calculate inflation. I think there's been a bit of a sham going on here.
Also, when was the last time inflation was 2%?
Anytime before COVID.
Yeah.
Right.
Feels like a millennia ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my recommendation here, Chad, is going to be to, if you're going to do this deal, is to get a credit card. You know how like all these guys are like, you gotta put it on a card.
Get a card.
You gotta get a card. Yeah. So get a card and then just charge this card $109 a month for the next 12 and 150 months, and you're in the good on $4,000. That's a long-term investment for NDL.
I like it too. I love that idea.
Yeah, I always say I don't know what I should do for an investment to make a constant profit for NDL. Get it on it. First of all, you can start to break into the market of root density and different stuff. You can almost be able to take on Rogers because people would start to think you're a lawn care guy.
Well, the excavators actually sound a lot like a lawnmower when they're running with that gas motor, right? Like it's very comparable to a.
What do you think?
I think we could extrapolate this further. I'm just like brainstorming here. So, Chad, you got 5 excavators.
Yeah.
You've already got a potential financing client lined up here from the podcast, me. So, what if you did this same deal with 4 other customers and you did a financing deal on all 5 excavators? We're talking about like $550 of recurring monthly revenue for the next 12 and a half years.
And then I'd call that other guy back, give him a refund, and finance that one too.
I'm already looking out at the next auction. I'm gonna buy some more of these bad boys.
Like, what could possibly go wrong? I don't think there's any downside to this business.
I need some collateral though if I'm gonna sell these things.
The machine is the collateral.
Yeah, you can always come and repossess.
Nobody wants a used Chinese excavator back after 2 years.
How do you know?
I don't. This guy doesn't want a used Chinese excavator.
You could say, I don't want it. I think I personally love your fascination with the Chinese excavators. I think there's, how we debate that there are people who only own a landscape business to generate content for their social media. We have that conversation a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like Chad has reached a point where he only owns Chinese excavators to generate content for his social media. I think he's like, you're buying them 4 at a time, going, look at that. Just people are fascinated by them. I think that you're only buying them to generate content.
If you had seen the amount of tire kickers that are knocking down my Facebook marketplace, then you'd say, hey, there might be a business opportunity here. Yeah, I'm not doing it for nothing. I don't want 5 Chinese excavators sitting at my yard.
Do you want any Chinese excavators sitting at your yard?
No, actually, I might bring them to a retailer in town and just have them sit there like a brickyard from our city.
Hey, Chris, you want to sell one of Chad's Chinese excavators out front of Arnts?
Sure.
I bet you would. I bet you could sell it.
Oh, we should put it on as talked about on the Not Our Finest Hour podcast. Chinese excavators for sale at Arnts.
And if not, you could charge people to take a picture with them out front. I'm sure.
Take a picture.
We'll get a Chad cardboard cutout, sit it inside the excavator.
I think potentially you're extrapolating that we're more popular than you would think.
Oh, God. Chad, eventually you're going to have like 5 separate streams of income from these excavators.
Wow. I'd like to hope so. It's a dream, right? My landscaper's dream.
What color are the new ones?
3 orange and 1 yellow.
So on the orange ones, you should just get some Kubota stickers made up and just leave the U off or something.
A Kubota.
And
Kubota.
And then stick it on the orange ones and just there you go. It's new brand.
New brand.
Call them the Daewoo's, Hitachis. There's a lot of ways you could spin this.
Yeah.
So
Doosan, they're
do you think the guy was happy with his Chinese excavator?
He was smiling as he was loading that thing up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think then he said, "Send me the invoice as soon as you get home." And I sent it to him the next day. But
well, he doesn't know you didn't if you went home or not.
You're right. But so
there's no proof you went home.
No, I could have fucked off right there, right to the bank. Cash's bank draft.
Cash's bank draft.
I might get in a little bit of hot water for this, but the only people, it seems, who want the Chinese excavators are French. Everyone who's messaged me about the Chinese excavators have been French.
Well, you
and
do
I don't
live
know French.
Close to the border.
Yeah, it's all been Quebec side, right? Like within an hour away or something like that.
Can you transport a Chinese excavator inter-province legally?
Probably, but I'm not, right? They're coming to me to pick these things up. I'm not delivered.
Would you deliver one?
I don't. Maybe not in Quebec. Definitely not in Quebec.
No.
I'd take it in
deliver
Ontario.
Mine for me?
Yeah, you're in Ontario? Oh.
Yeah.
But so Mike may have a float move to do for me sometime in the next few weeks. He could drop off one larger excavator and bring back one tiny Chinese excavator.
I think having Darian bring back a Chinese excavator on the 30-ton float would be about the best thing ever. Just we'll make sure it's settled right over the axles so that nothing happens to it. That's the kind of thing that would go down the highway and people would make videos of how ridiculous it looks.
What, you're gonna send the 30-ton float out here? Holy cow.
Yeah. Well, the other one has a crack in the frame and needs to be welded, but
yeah, send the safe one.
Just in case I gotta use that. I'll be quiet about it. But
you know what this could lead to? This could lead to a new Instagram page of underloaded trucks on the highway.
Underloaded trucks.
Underloaded trucks.
I do find that pretty amazing, though, that some guy posted a video on a random Facebook page and it still got back to Jordan just because everyone was sharing that for him. Like that
the power of social media.
That whole thing with him has me doing a deep dive into what would happen if our machines got stolen, because I feel horrible for him. His season's starting. The police are not helping him, or they're accusing him of stealing the machine himself, which he's like, that's not helpful to me, dude. I'm starting my season on Monday. I have no machine. Like, this isn't like I can't make my Malibu payments, so I'm going to ride the bus with a fucking skid steer. Like, I feel horrible for it. I just seem like I didn't, you see the machine stolen all the time, and I always share it whenever I can, but you don't realize the actual. And so, like, I mean, I know it affects people's lives. I understand, but this is like my friend who is getting fucked over, who worked hard to buy this machine and has a lot of money invested in it and down payments, and now he's not getting the police have zero interest in looking for it, or helping him. But it's frustrating that, all of us in the community have hundreds of thousands of dollars around, and no one wants they don't take seriously when this stuff goes missing. It just seems like it's a horrible situation. I'm definitely looking into my insurance to see what's actually covered on my end now.
What does his insurance say about it? Like, are they ready to cut him a check or
No, it's going to be some rigmarole thing, investigation.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll cover a rental for him. You know, if not, I told him he can come get my machine from the yard. We're not using it for anything next week, so at least he's covered for a bit. So, but it's like, I don't know. It just you don't realize how like it's sort of like a smack in the face to how exposed maybe my business is to something going missing or getting stolen, and how hard is it to replace, and what am I really covered for? And it's like this whole reality check. I'm like, fuck, man. Like it's a horrible situation for anyone that happens to. I guess
That's
I mean,
scary.
we have kill switches in our Bobcats that are hidden. So like the theory being if someone gets in it to steal it and they can't start it, they're probably gonna. But we didn't have one in the buggy, so Brad was at the yard today, endlessly repairing the hook trucks like he always is. And the first thing he did after he fixed the hook truck, he put a kill switch in the buggy before it goes out again this year. Just because I'm like, man, like I don't even know what's gonna. I don't know what to do. Like you don't even know what to do. Like, and in some ways it happened to Jordan. At least he wasn't in the midst of a job or in the midst of a season. It's horrible. But then you extrapolate it 3 weeks from now, you're in the middle of getting a job done. You're in the middle of your season, and now your machine's gone too. Like at least he has an opportunity to try and salvage something this week so that he can go into next week with some kind of a plan. But if you showed up on a job site on a Monday morning and all your shit's gone, that's a hard place to be.
No, for sure.
But I'm guessing the good thing is on most commercial sites now there's like fencing, right? Like legally. So at least there's some kind of intimidation.
I'm sure stuff goes missing from commercial sites all the time, regardless of whether there's a fence or not. Do all your big trucks have a kill switch like right at the battery that you can lock?
So Cody's has a hidden kill switch because what was wrong? Anyways, the 2 bin trucks have kill switches because we were worried about them catching on fire and burning. So like they have kill switches. The big Christie's and the other one actually don't. We should probably put them on just because there's like our stuff's stored on essentially a property where someone lives. So you would hope that if someone was stealing our shit, that they might walk into the house. Like you'd hope. Yeah. I think they would. Not 100% confident, but
so I feel
like they would.
Before I owned the yard, one of my workers lived there at the time. There's an apartment at the yard, and we have fuel cans obviously in the back. And some guy came up to the fuel cans, pumped their car full of fuel, and then started to take off. And the old man who lived there at the time, who is also the guy who flipped the excavator, who's my 65-year-old part-time guy, came out with his shotgun and shot the top of the car off as the guy was driving away. It had to be like 30 or 40 years ago before, when you could still do that and not go to jail, I suppose, right?
Well, it is Cornwall too.
Yeah.
So, I assumed the story was from last year.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
No. You'd be in a heck of trouble.
I was like, wow, Cornwall.
No.
Blowing a shotgun off.
No, this was 30 years ago. I think it was more acceptable 30 years ago.
To shoot a shotgun at a car stealing gas in Cornwall? I don't think it's that.
Ago, I think you were allowed to drink and drive 30 years ago.
Probably, yeah.
I think.
Oh, when I first started in landscaping, there was guys who lost their license like 8 times for drinking and driving. Like, I'm on my 10th time, and I'm like, whoa. And then people started losing it for long periods. Like that was when, if you went in and said, "Oh, I'm a commercial driver," they'd be like, "Oh, we feel sorry for you, so we'll give you." Like it was ridiculous, but.
Oh yeah.
Like there was a time when you used to be able to plead that that's how I make a living, and they would care.
They don't care.
No, they don't care. They don't care anymore at all. They do not. It is not. So, Chris.
Yo.
What is up I feel like we should discuss Arnts. So
We can,
we have a
if you want.
large, we have a large listenership in the Dominican.
In the Dominican?
Yeah. We have a lot of people who listen in Dominican. They are rumored to be landscapers that are on vacation, but we don't know. So
Is there any pictures?
no.
You want to
Not
see
that I-
pictures of the landscapers from Dominican?
There
Boy,
was
do I have a group for you.
Well, how do we know it happened if there's no pictures?
there is Dominican listeners. What's new at Arnts the Landscape Supplier, Chris, this season? What are you guys
What's
going to
new?
do to bring in more business from the Quinte area? Like, what are you guys doing to do that?
Well, number one thing that's happening at Arnts this year is there's stock again. Products are in stock.
Nice.
Manufacturers have been hard at work filling up their yards, and pretty much anything you need, it's finally available after the last 2 years of stuff being back ordered or unavailable or having to wait. I'd say that there's a good chance that whatever you need at the start of this year, it's going to be available. So that's good news. Other good news is natural stone prices are dropping. Huge.
Like armor stone prices?
No, imported stone.
Okay.
Imported stone. All the international shipping rates have come back down. They're telling me they're back down to pre-pandemic levels. So all the imported stone that we bring in, mainly from China and India, is all dropped back down in price.
How much did it go up during the pandemic, do you think?
From March to September of 2021, we saw a 50% increase.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was pretty big. So when you had a 50% increase, then they kind of stayed flat at those levels for 2022. And then basically what happened now is all that increase was due to the shipping. So now that the shipping costs have come back down, they took that 50% increase off, which means that prices have dropped about 33%. But then they came back and said, well, we increased it 50% to cover the shipping. Now we've dropped it, taking the 50% off, which is a 33% drop to bring it back down to the price it was before. But then that means that we technically haven't raised the price of the material in 2 years. So then they brought on a small product increase of 5 to 10%. But you're still looking at like 20, 25% savings on imported natural stone over last year. So it's pretty significant.
That's a big change.
Yep.
So all the people who got screwed on their contracts when they were underbid the natural stone and it went up have an opportunity to hold the high price of natural stone they have in their current contracts and make back some of the money they lost the last 2 years.
I think they potentially have that opportunity. Yeah. Like if you've already sold a job and you've already given the customer a price in the fall or this winter, and the job's already sold and the customer was happy with the price that you gave them, and now you buy the material cheaper, I guess it's up to you what you do with that savings. But if you had other jobs where you ate the cost increase to keep the customer happy, and in this case you can keep your customer happy and make the extra money, then yeah, I think it all comes out in the wash.
Well, I think a lot of people took a hit on natural stone.
I don't remember the last time I used natural stone.
I use it for all my
this
cats.
Conversation.
Yeah.
I got screwed.
Basically, this conversation has no value to Chad, so we're achieving our goal.
Actually, thinking back, the last time I used natural stone, it came in the wrong sizes and the wrong color, and the client was trying to dye it. And we've talked about that before, I think. Like you just wanted to.
Yeah. How hard do you think you got hit, Mike? Because you use a lot of natural stone.
It was just one project that I kind of got hit on, but it wasn't that much. It was probably maybe close to about 1,500 that I got hit. But then now I need to order some more caps for a project to finish up from last year. So that should save me actually a little bit because I quoted that one from last year's prices. So
there you go.
Maybe I'll break even on that.
You'll break even on the difference.
On the difference, yeah.
That's the goal of every business, is to break even, baby. At least on this podcast.
Chris, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
If you have like new landscapers always show up like at the beginning of each year, right?
Yep.
Do you ever have landscapers come in and want to, like, they're new to the area, they're new to the industry, they want to start their business, and they come to you and just want to start like a relationship and just want to meet with you? What do you tell them, or what does that conversation kind of look like, or does it even happen? Or yeah, just a question there for you.
Yeah, so I think the number one thing is if someone comes in and says that they're a contractor and they're either starting a business in Durham region or they're an existing contractor business in Durham region, is we have like a contractor trade application form that they can fill out to basically get set up as a trade customer, right? Because in our business, we have a contractor trade price list for, business to business sales, and then we have our prices for the general public. So we want to get, people that are running businesses onto that trade pricing program, and then we can, walk them through all the products and services that we offer. We generally have a price book and like a price guide that we give them. Although last year we couldn't even print the guide because prices were changing so frequently, we could never cobble together an entire book. So we had to kind of piecemeal different PDFs together, and they were constantly changing. So it was kind of only semi-productive, but yeah, just basically outline all the programs that we offer, kind of how our rebate program works for contractors, and then yeah, kind of go from there.
So you'd entertain like a discussion if somebody reached out to you to be like, hey, I just want to like meet and start a relationship, get to know you a little bit, and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you ever turned anyone away? Be like, no, I know you do dog shit work. Like, we're not opening this can.
So we're in our position, we don't really vet the quality of the work that our customers are doing. It's not really something that's possible
What
to
do
do.
you think? How much do you think your sales would go down if you did vet the work and care about the quality of the work that everyone who bought products from you was doing?
I honestly have no idea.
That's not our finest hour question.
So
that's an even worse hour.
Yeah, that's an even worse hour.
Mike, those questions weren't supposed to come until the second hour.
Yeah, that was a bad question.
We had this this hardscaper landscaper in town who was banned from shopping at a certain retailer because he yelled at the driver and made them cry at one point. Have you ever done anything like that?
Oh, yeah. We've had to, I wouldn't say ban is the right word, but we have had customers that we've asked them not to come back.
Really?
Yeah. And the number one reason would be health and safety violations, or a respect, or like violence, that kind of thing. Yeah, we don't tolerate any of that. So
mistreatment of the staff.
Mistreatment of staff. Yeah, that's literally the only thing that you could do to get banned from Arnts.
Does anybody ever try to come back after they've been banned?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
The result.
Try to sneak it in a different colored truck.
A mustache. They just put on one of those.
Well, the thing is
they just change the magnetic decals.
Yeah. Well, we would ban people for like a safety issue or a health issue, but we also we're not here to be the police or penalize people. So we've had people that we've said, okay, look, you were, verbally abusive to our staff. Maybe they did it once, they got a warning, then they were verbally abusive again. So we've said, hey, look, we can't tolerate this. It's completely unacceptable. We don't want people on our property treating people that way. So you're no longer allowed on our property. But then if they wanted or needed materials from us in the future, they've asked if they could send somebody else in on their behalf to purchase for them. And we've said, yeah, that's fine, as long as the person that you're sending on your behalf is not, verbally abusive to our staff.
Um, I assume like you guys sell bulk material like gravel and riverstone and all that
Yep.
stuff. So how many times in a season does a homeowner or someone with an ill-equipped trailer come to the yard and ask to be loaded and ends up blowing out their tires or their axle or something like that? That happens fairly often in my city.
Yeah, I
does
would
it
say
happen?
it used to happen more often. I would say it's happening less. A couple things is it's happening less because over time, more and more of our clientele is contractors, and as a percentage of our business, we're getting less people, wanting to come in and, pick up that yard of material themselves. Also, there's been a huge increase over the years in the uh, customers like gravitating towards buying things in 25 to 50 pound bags.
Oh yeah, super sacks. Or no,
Or
even like
yeah, just like the small bags, right?
yeah,
Like instead of buying half a yard or 1 yard, like people will come and make multiple trips and just buy it in 25 or 50 pound bags.
yep,
Or people want the sacks, and if they want the sacks, they generally get them delivered.
delivered, yeah.
Yeah. And if somebody comes in and it's like very clear and obvious to us and our loader operators that their vehicle can't support the weight that they want, then we just simply won't load them.
Yeah, that's smart. They don't do that back here. They'll load them right up
Yeah.
and send them on their way. Sometimes
You
they don't
can't
make
do
it
that.
to the road.
You
Yeah,
can't
I
you
know.
can't do that in 2023 in Durham region. Maybe like 2043 Cornwall.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But
We're quite a bit behind, but yeah, they'll load them up any day.
so on an average day, how many square feet of product in total is available at Arnts the landscape supplier?
How many square feet of
Like,
product?
yeah, like of pavers, slabs, like just on an average day. Like, I go there all the time. I see all the huge piles, but you must have some idea. Is it 1 million square feet of product available? Is it 2 million? Like, what's the stock level of Arnts the landscape supplier going into the season right now?
Oh,
How many square feet do you think you have on hand?
it's high. It's very high.
It's not
I
really an
would say
answer.
it's definitely over 1 million. It would be multiple millions, especially if we're including like natural stone, like square feet of natural stone pavers.
Yeah.
If you're converting, are we converting retaining walls to square feet here too?
Sure.
Yeah, many, many millions. I can tell you, so off the top of my head, I think an interesting fact would be a single SKU, like one single specific paving stone product in a specific paving stone color with a specific paving stone texture. The most that we would have of one product would be about 50,000 square feet. So about
Oh, wow.
500 bundles.
I
And
have a
that's it.
question from that.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Okay, what's the percentage of sales between concrete versus natural stone?
Concrete versus natural stone.
And then if you've seen a trend over the years going more towards one or the other.
Yeah, I would say up until 2 years ago, up until before the pandemic, we had a few years that natural stone sales, especially in terms of dollars, was increasing faster than concrete sales. That being said, concrete is by far and away the winner of this contest, right? So I'd say the pavers outsell the natural stone probably 3 or 4 to 1. So we had a couple of years leading up to the pandemic that natural stone sales were, gaining a little bit of ground on concrete products. And natural stone products are generally a little bit more expensive. So if people are switching from pavers to natural stone, a lot of times they were upgrading their price point. So, once you have a few conversions, it really helps boost the dollar sales of natural stone. The last 2 years during the pandemic, with all the product shortages and the huge surge in demand, I would say from our perspective that demand was filled more with concrete pavers.
Gotcha.
So we saw the concrete pavers really shoot up. So I don't know, like some of our manufacturers I know, they were able to adapt very quickly, and some of them went from, running 1 or 2 8-hour shifts a day to running 3 shifts a day. I know some of our vendor partners were, the owners of the business themselves were in there like running the night shift because they basically could like run an entire extra shift. And a concrete paving stone plant can make like 15,000 square feet in a shift, and that's an extra 15,000 square feet that they could get out the door into the hands of contractors and into, backyard patios. So there was the ability to kind of scale up the production a bit to meet the demand. And then the other thing that kind of happened was with that 50% price increase on natural stone, I think the natural stone kind of priced itself out of a lot of jobs. Like it was just getting so expensive. Like, something that used to be $7 a square foot was now 10, and coping that used to be $20 a square foot was 30, whereas we only saw about 10% price increases on concrete.
Right.
So, we had alternative coping products in concrete that only went up 10%. And, I think maybe a lot of jobs switched over to those products.
So then where does porcelain fit in all that in terms
Uh,
of
I'm very excited about porcelain. I really like porcelain. Yeah.
is
Up
it
until
growing?
It's growing. It's growing huge. Up until last year, I actually classified porcelain in with our natural stone.
Oh,
Yeah. So just internally and in my mind, like the porcelain was like a subcategory of natural stone.
right.
Last year was the first year I literally did an update and made porcelain its own category. Like when we look at our product breakdown, like
Right.
concrete pavers, retaining walls, soils, mulch, gravel, natural stone, porcelain is now its own category.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then I guess go ahead, Chad.
So whenever you saw all these companies pumping out more than normal amounts of pavers and materials over the past 2 years, did you see any notable decrease in quality?
Intermittently, yes.
And those have all been fixed for this year. We're going into 2023.
Were there some
But
manufacturers worse than others?
No,
we
I can I can
across
say
the
that
board.
honestly, across the board, I think in a little bit in an effort to just fill the demand and get product out the door, like we potentially saw more imperfections. And this is just my take on it, like from my experience and knowledge and dealing with these products. I think that sometimes like producing through the winter under different conditions maybe affected the quality of some of the batches that were coming out. But that's just a thought.
Gotcha.
So, like on your end, did that cost you like a ton of money as far as getting materials back to your shop, or did they go straight to the manufacturer? Like how
A
did
little bit of both. A little bit of both. There's always a cost to, servicing the replacement of
yeah,
product. But all of our manufacturing partners that we deal with, if they had products that they had issues with, like that product ends up going back to them
yeah,
eventually, either directly or through us.
gotcha.
When a manufacturer comes to you for recommendations or feedback of some sort, which in my experience that was like usually at the beginning of the year or the end of the year when I worked for Supplier, what kind of feedback or recommendations do you typically give? And if you can't give like actual examples, like what are they along the lines of that you're trying to, guide them towards?
It's usually prompted sometimes by, how they phrase their questions. Like they know what colors are selling and not selling, but they might like be making something that's just like an awkward size, or the packaging is just not very user friendly. So we'll sometimes make recommendations to them about those things.
Gotcha. I
Where'd
have a
PK go?
question about PK, but I was gonna wait for him to come back. Chris, you've known PK as PK the business owner, PK the sales rep, PK the Ridge Lake contractor. What's your favorite version of PK?
My favorite version of PK by far is the supplier at PK.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, because then he
Really?
had to pay for lunch.
Was he happier as a sales rep?
No,
Or
no,
was he
no.
more
No, he was
miserable?
not.
Like he was.
Did he have his famous cookouts at Arnts? His like donut burgers, or his did you get in on any of the pickled egg giveaways?
No, but there's been a hole at Arnts ever since PK left his corporate gig.
Oh.
There's been a severe shortage of pepperonis.
Did he make you more money as a rep, or cost you more money when he was a rep?
Ooh.
Ooh,
Because like I don't
That's a good
imagine,
question.
because from what I know, he's a trucking guy now, right? So
yeah.
I mean, in the past he may have been a high roller when it comes to interlock work, but I don't know how to
I would
split
say
that.
I would say he made money for the company he worked for. He definitely did.
Company man.
Yeah. Well, he was good at his job, and he had relationships with a lot of contractors, and while he was doing the job, he worked hard to form relationships with new contractors, and people generally liked him, so they said, "Hey, I want to buy this company's product because they have a good
Yeah.
sales rep and he's providing me with good service, so I want to support that person."
Right. When did
you
you
tear
first
into him whenever that whole laminated
Ooh.
system came out?
Oh
Did
yeah,
you have words with him, or have
it.
you always been pretty
Well,
civil?
it was all his fault, right? Like there is nobody to blame except Paver King himself.
As he walks right back in.
Yeah.
Why are you talking about me?
Oh yeah.
It was
we
all
just
part of,
found out that
it was all
it was
part
your
of his
fault.
master plan.
Was
Yeah.
it?
You
Why?
know,
What did I do?
well,
That-
you went into the corporate world. You
Oh
convinced
my God.
you
How
convinced
did this become a topic in the 4 minutes I was gone? Okay.
you went into
Whatever.
the corporate
Move ahead.
world. You convinced your corporate overlords to release products that would delaminate on their clients, and then you promptly quit the corporate gig and started your own company, getting paid to replace the delaminated products. So,
How did this become a topic
in
of
hindsight, all
conversation?
these years later, it's very clear that there was a master puppeteer behind the scenes. The Paver
Is this
King.
is this sort of
behind the
like
scenes.
is this sort of like how I figured out that if I was using a landscape supplier to dump my fill, that I better be the guy that hauls the fucking fill away as well?
Well, there you go. See, the puppeteer.
Is that a potential? Like, I know how to play both sides of the card. Is that what how did this come up in conversation?
Did skid deposits come from PK too?
Yeah, that happened the same year that Paver King was at the corporate paving stone manufacturer that innovated the skid charge.
It all makes sense.
It all comes back to being my fault.
As the business owner, we've established
Hey,
that it's always our fault.
I'm part of the Jocko guruism, and I have extreme ownership over everything that ever happened in the landscape world. I do have a legit question. I don't know if you guys talked about it when I was gone, but I've been talking to a lot of people this week because I did make a lot of posts on Sunday just regarding my own situation out there selling stuff that I haven't done in a long time. And so a lot of people have responded to that, and they seem to be in the same situation. Like, At this time last year, Chris, do you think you had, I know me as a contractor, I probably had 10 orders in with you,
Yep.
maybe more. It
Sounds
could be,
about right.
it was probably about 10 that I had with you as a contractor. I know
Yep.
I have two right now, maybe three.
Yeah.
Do you think that a lot of contractors have dropped down like that, or I'm just incompetent and the exception to the rule?
No, you're basically in the same boat as everybody else.
Yeah, I feel like that's the hint I'm getting from everybody too, is that, you know, whether collectively as a group or a mass as an industry, we all took our foot off the gas and just put it on cruise, and then realized we hit a patch of black ice, and now we're skating out of control.
Yeah.
Or I did talk to one contractor this week, and I'll give him credit because I thought this was a really good assessment of the situation. Rob from our Havry, and he said to me he felt like this spring was our COVID. You know,
Yeah.
like that, like all the restaurants got COVID during COVID, and all of us landscapers didn't, and we actually had the opposite effect. He said he felt like maybe this spring was sort of our COVID.
Yeah.
Evening up with us. I thought it was a great take on the situation, like really,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
feel I do feel a little bit like a restaurant owner in 2020 or whenever the pandemic was. Like I feel like I'm sort of there right now. So I don't know how you guys feel about it, but or if that's the same, Chris. Like you see that across the board with there's always going to be exceptions to every rule.
Yeah. I think that there's a little bit of like truth to that in terms of like we feel like there's no work to do. But I feel like there's also a bit of a recency bias to it. So up until 2021, like if I went back, today's March 28th, if I went back to like March 28th, 2019 or March 28th, 2020, I can confidently tell you that I never even thought to look at how many orders we already had in the queue at Arnts for contractors for the spring. And that's because we didn't have any orders from contractors for the spring in 2019 and 2020 on March 28th because contractors didn't call us in the winter and place orders for material. We basically waited until the weather turned at some point in April, and then magically all the contractors just showed up and started ordering material. So it was only in 2021 and 2022 because for the first time ever, like contractors were literally calling us the first week of January, second week of January, all through February, March, and placing orders and saying, "Hey, I need this product for the spring. I need to make sure I have it." And some of them were even going as far as, getting product delivered to sites or getting product delivered to their yards in January and February and March the last 2 years. So it was only because they were doing that that we started actually looking at, how many orders we had. So when we've gone from the last 2 years of having, lots of orders in the system to now, I think your assessment of, going from 10 jobs in the queue to two is, pretty accurate. I'd say like the orders in our system is maybe 25% what it was last year, but it's also like infinitely more than what we would have had in 2019 or 2020. So if you take a longer term perspective, I think we're all going to be in pretty good shape because I think there's still a shortage of contractors and skilled labor and people that are willing to work hard. And I think once, the weather breaks and people are outside and looking at their properties, that there's still going to be people out there that want to get some work done. And so the people that have the skills to do it, I think they'll still find work and have a successful season.
Yeah, I've noticed a huge uptick of ads because I'm obviously have a landscape centered Instagram account. So if you decide to push your landscape company in Durham region, it immediately comes to me. So I've personally noticed a huge uptick of ads in Durham region of landscapers looking for work that
Yeah.
way with sponsored posts.
Which
Which
quick
is
Like
thing
fine.
on
laborers or companies looking for work?
companies.
Companies
Company.
with sponsored posts that are like booking now, space
Yeah.
in 2023. And I have a pushed post on Facebook right now. I specifically just for you, Chad, pushed it only to
Cornwall.
single
My area.
women. No, single women between the ages of 35 and 65.
Nice.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
anyways, go ahead, Mike.
For anybody doing that, don't do boosted posts. Go to use Facebook ads. Like don't boost your posts on Instagram or Facebook. And there's a way to not show your ads to actual landscape business owners because that's just a waste of money. You can do exclusions on that to reduce the amount of chances that your post actually goes out to landscape business owners. So utilize that as much as possible if you're doing ads.
So I will go and, well, I guess if you wanted to see me on my ad, you'd have to be a owner of a landscape business who is female in Durham region between the ages of 35 and 65. So if there's a lot of those and I'm wasting some money, I'm okay with that.
That's fine.
I think for the amount of money that would get wasted on female landscape business owners between the ages of,
I'm just saying for people because I see the same thing. I see more and more sponsored posts, and they shouldn't be showing up to those with landscaping businesses. It's easily avoidable.
That maybe that could, Mike, that almost could have been Caleb's corner.
I'll take that as my Caleb's corner because I don't got much. So
okay, so everybody, Mike's just going to repeat what he said. But first, we're going to say that this is Caleb's Corner, in no way associated with the Kid Contractor podcast at all. But this is the one part of this podcast where we try to drop a little value.
Yeah.
And this is Caleb's Corner, and this is Mike's week for Caleb's Corner. So, Mike, bring it down on Facebook ad.
I don't want to take the Caleb's Corner away from somebody who's only here for one episode. So perhaps I should yield my Caleb's Corner over to Chris because, I could do Caleb's Corner at any point in time. But maybe Chris has a piece of value that he wants to share.
Chris, you are now a part of Caleb's Corner.
wait,
in
who's
no
Caleb?
way. This may or may not be associated with Caleb Allman from Allman Landscape in beautiful Fairfield County, Ohio. P.O. Box 7432657. It may be it is also not associated anyway with the Kid Contractor podcast, which we would like to think is a competing podcast, but he knows he's so far above us that it's not actually a competition. But Caleb claims that periodically we actually offer value here. So whenever we are going to offer value, we call it Caleb's Corner. So Chris, we need you to drop it could be any kind of valuable piece of advice, and we will call it Caleb's Corner from any point. Should we buy Bitcoin? Shouldn't we buy Bitcoin? Should we be in the real estate market? Can you actually, for Caleb's Corner, because we started this conversation, Chris, and it never finished up. But for Caleb's Corner, can you break down why it is actually practical to buy a Lamborghini on a 150-month payment plan? Because you told me there was a reason why it was practical. So this Caleb's Corner will be dedicated to why every landscaper should buy a Lamborghini on a 150-month payment plan. Take it away, Chris Arnts. Break down the numbers.